Hi everybody, and welcome to ZTV Live. Today is Tuesday, August 11th. I'm Susan Mulligan Fleischman, and I'm so pleased to have everybody here. If anybody wants to just give me a little hello and let me know that sound and video are doing well, I would appreciate that. Tonight, Ralph Peluso is here with Reading, Writing, and Ralph, and his special guest tonight is Rozanne Weissman, and her book is called I Went to Africa and Kissed a Giraffe. Is it a giraffe? Yes. I went to Africa and kissed a giraffe. But before we get to Ralph and Rozanne, I just have a few words from our sponsors. Hang in there, everybody. We're just having some slow technical actions. Tonight's episode of ZTV Live is sponsored in part by Murphy's Irish Pub on King Street in Old Town. Murphy's has outdoor seating, limited indoor seating, curbside pickup, and carryout. Stop by for live music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Visit murphyspub.com. And by MB Bakery. Mary Beth's impeccably designed artisan goodies are now available on the go. You know you can trust a bakery that buys its butter by the ton. Visit mbbakeryonthego.com. And by Tizo Vietnamese Cuisine on Dow Avenue off Van Dorn. Tizo is your destination for nutritious, tasty, and authentic North Vietnamese food. Tizo offers healthy and affordable meals in a friendly and casual atmosphere. Visit TizoRestaurants.com. If you'd like to be a sponsor on ZTV Live, we'd love to hear from you. Please send us an email at ads@thezebrapress.com. That's ads@thezebrapress.com. And let me get back to our show here. Here we go. Thank you, everybody, for your patience tonight. We're having a little bit of a sluggish reaction on our software, but hopefully that's going to be short-lived. So I'm going to bring Ralph Peluso on screen with me. Hi, Ralph. Welcome back to Reading, Writing, and Ralph.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing great. We have a wonderful guest on tonight, our first children's author to be on the show.
Wonderful.
Her name is Rozanne Weissman, and she wrote a book, Rozanne Travels to Africa to Kiss a Giraffe.
Terrific.
So let's bring Rozanne on.
That's it. Hello, Rozanne. Welcome to ZTV Live. You're on screen with us now.
Hi, Susan and Ralph. Ralph, it's really great to be with you and the lion out over your shoulder.
Yeah, I brought my buddy here with me. Yeah, it's. I figure if we have a safari theme going, we have to have some of the animals in the background.
That's right. He fits right in. Ralph and Rozanne, I'm going to let you two take it away.
Thank you. So, Rozanne, it's a very unique title. It's a children's book, and you have some great and wonderful teaching angles. So why don't you tell the audience what your book is about?
My book, Rozanne Travels to Africa to Kiss a Giraffe, is for children 2 to 9, and it's been tested with children those ages. It starts out with Rozanne, me, as a little child, just like many of the people who will be reading the book, and it makes them relate to it. So I'm a little girl who loves my teddy bear, who loves zoos, who loves going to parks and seeing wild animals in the parks and little bunny rabbits and so on, and who loves nature, meaning fireflies and caterpillars turning into butterflies. So children identify with that, and then it goes to me as a grown-up, wearing some leopard attire, holding this leopard from Discovery, from my work with them as a consultant, marketing communications consultant, on their film, The Leopard Son, and then after that, the very successful launch and development of their Animal Planet channel. But I knew that I didn't want to just see animals, wild animals, on TV or film. I wanted to go where they live in the wild.
Well, that's terrific. And what I'd like to know is you were a very successful businesswoman. And how did you transition and go from being in the corporate world to becoming a children's author?
Well, it wasn't so corporate. I did work with for-profit clients like Discovery, etc., and restaurants and so on. But before that, I worked for nonprofits like the Alliance to Save Energy and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I was an exec with them. So my background has been very diverse. But to be really candid, what happened is my doctor took me off my computer with voice recognition software. So no computer anymore. That meant that my dreams of being a best-selling author were gone, and I lived on my iPhone, which was nice because I was very portable and it was very light. And I never expected to be doing anything else. I think people assumed I didn't like kids because I chose not to have kids, but I worked with kids as a volunteer. And what happened to get this book going is the totally unexpected things that happen in life. I worked at Jubilee Jumpstart, a bilingual infants through pre-K. I loved the kids. They all knew, this was 2 years ago, that I was going to Africa to kiss a giraffe. They were so excited about me doing that. They wanted to see pictures. They were excited to see me come back. And I told Miss Dee Dee, the exec, that she could share whatever she wanted to. We're connected on Facebook, that I would post videos and pictures on Facebook. So she did that. And I did one piece that was looking at the 3 trips that I had done. I'd done 3 wildlife trips. So that piece was called Wildlife Whisperer. So I come back to Jubilee Jumpstart. She meets me at the door. She's got these pictures printed out from Facebook on beautiful glossy paper, these color photos. And she says, so I was thinking, that you could do a book. And then for the children, Miss Dee Dee knows how to play to the heartstrings, like I could not say no to that. And she did not know that I had no computer, that I wasn't doing work like that anymore. Everybody knew I had boo-boos, but I didn't specifically tell them that I had hand, wrist disabilities, etc. So my challenge was, since she already promised the kids, is how do I deliver on this with a tiny iPhone, tiny screen, with not the use of fingers. So I dictated the book on Siri on my iPhone. I laid out she wanted it with the photos. I laid out the photos and contents in the Simple Prints app, which is really an app that's designed for photography. The people with Simple Prints were good to work with, and thus it became a book. I tested it and tested it. So for me, I had to have a printed book. So it was a printed, hardbound book, 3 versions of it as I kept going through this and changing things, and till we came to the final one. Lots of children input, teacher input, etc. I captured children on buses. It was pre-pandemic. You could talk to people. I could share it with them, and I knew that the age range was definitely till 9. And so thus I had a book, and people liked the book. So I thought, wouldn't it be good to have this for sale on Amazon? But then I would need to get somebody with a computer to do what had to be done to get it on Amazon. And I met somebody at a party. Turned out to be a small publisher in the area. And she said, I could do this for you. She said, as a matter of fact, I think the book's so charming, I think we should keep it as is. And just size it to be on Amazon. And you can have a back cover on your Amazon book too. And so I have a little boy on the back, feet back towards camera, feeding giraffes. So again, children could see themselves. And the giraffe cover was picked by children. They thought it was the most friendly looking of the giraffes. So that's how I became an author, the unexpected children's book author.
Wow. Now, did you have a book consultant through all of this?
I definitely had this book consultant. So I think you have a picture with me and Miss Dee Dee because she played such a prominent role. So we are at my book party and book signing and having a great time. I'm wearing, as you notice, the same outfit here, which is my lucky book outfit. And we're having a great time. And she's really the mother of this book. But I also have had a children's book consultant from the time that she was 2.5 years old to the time she was 3.5 years old. From the time she really couldn't talk, but she had picked me as her person when she was an infant, and I was her person, and she would bring books to me. She loved books read to her, and she would bring them to me. And then when she went to the toddlers class, she would come into the infants class for the last hour of the day and bring books to me. And one day we read 7 books in 1 hour. She loves books and has patience. She was the best book consultant ever. She had patience. She loved to read the stories, to be read to, and she loved being asked for advice. I mean, you can't do better than that. So let me just say that I showed her a picture that I was using in the book, and it was very artsy looking, of a zebra. For you zebra people over at Zebra TV and Zebra Pet. And it was a baby zebra under the mother zebra feeding from the zebra, and her head's going like this. And I said, you're finding it hard to tell the difference between the baby and the mama with all those stripes, right? I get it. This is the yes, And so I said, let's try some other animals and see what works. So we tried the elephant. This is definitely, I said, is this a thumbs up? So she didn't even have to talk for me to know what worked and what didn't work, because we were so simpatico. And she was truly a wonderful book consultant. We worked throughout, and part of why the book is the way it is because of her. We put more emojis in. The children love the emojis. It's probably the only book with emojis, and that's enough. But she is the best book consultant ever, and there she is, like a walking advertisement of my book.
Well, you're going to get pure feedback from children without any other interests going on, political reasons or the like. So I think you said you went on 3 safaris or adventure trips.
3 wildlife trips.
Wildlife trips.
So,
and,
yeah.
I went on one that lasted 3 weeks, but every time I meet somebody that's been on a wildlife trip, they always have some amazing stories. So why don't you share some of your wildlife experiences with the viewers as well?
Well, I'll start with some without photos. And I'm going to start in Borneo, where my journey started, and there'll be more orangutan things later on. So the exciting experiences was I traveled with the world's leading primatologist on orangutan. So I had amazing experiences that nobody could have without traveling. It's like traveling with Jane Goodall when it comes to gorillas. I mean, that's who you want to go with. You can have experiences like you cannot have with anybody else. So here's some of the experiences. A mother orangutan with her toddler touches me on the knee, and the tour guide says, Rozanne, don't get excited. She's just stabilizing herself. And they sit next to me munching mangoes. So, I mean, I hear the sound. I've got a little short video that isn't great, but you can hear the sound, and they are right next to me. The other extraordinary experience was Siswi, who is the female diva of Camp Leakey. And she's very jealous, and she does not like other females. It doesn't matter if they are orangutan or human, she just doesn't. So I'm thinking we're getting along pretty well for someone who doesn't like women. It looks like we're talking, and all of a sudden, there is Siswi in my face, eye to eye, nose to nose, clearly checking me out. And everybody says, "Weren't you scared?" And I wasn't, because I was with the primatologist and I felt that she wouldn't leave me in a situation that was dangerous, but she really was in my face. And that picture is in the book of Siswi. So that's another experience that is extraordinary. And what I said in the book is Siswi had decided that my beauty was no beauty compared to hers. I was no good to her. And that is really what I felt. So you feel like these orangutans have personalities. I mean, Siswi was a diva. She didn't like women. You know, she wanted to be stroked and everything else. She wanted special treatment.
Or maybe she wanted to be the queen bee.
That's certainly true. That's certainly true. And she is that. Also, I saw on my trip being with a baby orphaned orangutan. I'm sorry, baby orphaned elephant. That was incredible. I think there's a photo to go with that. And I adopted this baby for my great niece in Portland, who was another wonderful consultant on this book, because she knew from the age of 2 that Aunt Rozanne's favorite animal is the orangutans. And she also was a reader of my book from, early time. She saw all of the photos, etc. But this book was a year-long process. So she had it read to her at first, and then she could read it herself and reads it to friends. So that was great. I saw my first penguins in the wild, and what really was remarkable was seeing, Ralph had asked me, of course you've seen the big 5. And I said, not only did I see the big 5, but I saw 5 of the most elusive of the big 5, which are leopards. I am the only one on the Smithsonian Journeys trip to have seen 5 leopards, including 2 leopard cubs. And that is so rare. I mean, most people leave Africa and never see a leopard.
Yeah.
I was with a spotter and a driver who worked in Africa for 10 years apiece, who had never, ever seen a leopard cub. We saw 2 leopard cubs. So this was incredible. And the day that this was over 2 days that I saw the 5. So in different vehicles with different drivers and spotters and different people, which is why I was the only one to see the 5. When I started out in the morning, I said, today we are going to see leopards, and it's early in the morning. Leopards are not usually seen in mornings. And we drive into this game park that doesn't have many tourists, the most incredible place, and a leopard crossed our path. And I was so excited, I didn't have time to get my iPhone out to take a picture. So there's a picture in the book of this leopard, and it was done by a woman on the trip who was 19, the youngest woman. And it was so exciting, and others did the photo of the leopards, the leopard mother and the cub that you hopefully are seeing now. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to Africa again, and different parts. I'm going to Kenya, And I went there specifically to kiss a giraffe because I saw this on television. It was Juju Chang on ABC Nightline, kissed a giraffe. I thought, I have got to do this. This is like the orangutan experience. I must go. And I booked almost a year ahead of time to get 4 nights. And the travel person who had been there before goes, "What are you going to do there in 4 nights? All there is giraffes." I said, "There's giraffes. There's baby orphaned elephants to adopt. I will be so happy to have this experience, and I can go to Out of Africa there, the home where Out of Africa occurred." And I said, "I will be so happy, and I am so glad I stayed there longer than anybody else. Most people go there for a night or two. It's a great honeymoon spot. They go safari, etc." And I told the tour person that I booked with the travel agent that I didn't have to go on another safari because how could I possibly top 5 leopards? But I did go on a safari to Masamara, and I saw this most incredible scene that I think you might have of a group of 10 lions together, a pride of 10 lions, beyond belief, walked right by our vehicle. And it's a short video. People love it on my YouTube channel, and my YouTube channel is Rozanne Travels to Africa to Kiss a Giraffe. So
have you already showed the picture of Rozanne kissing the giraffe?
No, I've not.
No, we haven't.
Oh, you haven't got it that far yet? Okay.
We are getting to the little baby orphaned elephant drinking out of a bottle.
Right.
And I have a little video of that, but you have a still with the keeper, and it's so cute. But the video I have on my YouTube channel, which is unbelievable, is of the baby orphaned elephants running, almost stampeding at the end of the day to get their milk. And you see all these elephants passing by, and they're called by name. And I was standing there. It was so exciting.
Did they give you any reason why they were orphaned? Because usually the mothers are very protective of their babies.
Right. The mothers might have been shot and killed. There were droughts. The mothers could have died. So in the situation of one orphaned elephant, the elephant was found alone between 2 bull elephants, so clearly without a mother. So the bull elephants were protecting the elephant, but they couldn't give the elephant what she needed, and that was milk. So to survive in the jungle, basically, you've got to have a mother. So, there were orphaned orangutans. Again, over 300 where I went. So sad. It means they don't have a mother. They were killed. There was fires. There were other things. Sometimes the babies were trapped to be pets. All sorts of reasons. Sometimes they come in horrible condition. So being orphaned is a sad situation. So the place that had the elephants that I went is the David Sheltrick Wildlife Trust. I contribute money for this adoption each year. My great niece has gotten to learn about elephants, and they're growing up, and about her elephant in particular, Kiasa. And we've watched her grow over the course of a few years now.
Wow.
So Ralph has been waiting for the giraffe story.
Yeah, I have seen the picture, and I have to say, both you and the giraffe look like you're very much enjoying yourselves.
Yes, doesn't it? But before I could get to kiss a giraffe, I had to build up to that because people on Facebook in the course of the year, when I said, I'm going to kiss a giraffe in a year, I'm going to do this, it's the bucket list kind of thing, they got me scared. They said, have you heard about the head-butted photographer who the giraffe, and the giraffe knocked butted in the head and he's dead now, all these horrible stories. So then I started rethinking. I thought I better feed them by hand first and get used to them. And then everybody wanted me to kiss Eddie. Eddie had this big head. Eddie is in my book with a big, big head. And I said, Eddie is the best kisser. I said, I don't care if he's the best kisser. I need someone with a smaller head. I need a giraffe who's not going to get in my face with a smaller head. And I don't want those ones who, with the sloppy wet kisses, I want a little wispy kiss. I want one with a smaller head. So I asked for advice.
I have to ask a question.
Yes.
Bigger thrill, your first kiss when you were a teenager or kissing the giraffe?
Kissing the giraffe. I could talk about this one. This was unbelievable. This was definitely, and it's not that the giraffe likes you. You are holding a pellet. I'm telling the secret on television here, live on Facebook, on YouTube and everywhere else this is going to go. But the secret is we hold a pellet that attracts the giraffes. That's what you feed them with. I heard it's got molasses and other wonderful things that they love. They seem to want an endless supply of this. You can never have enough to feed them. So I'm feeding and feeding them. I'm feeding them at Giraffe Manor, which is this extraordinary place on people's bucket lists where the giraffes live. And one of my reviewers of the book, I found her on the Giraffe Manor site. We did not know each other. I just said, I'm doing a book. She said I would like to read it. She read it. She was my first outside reviewer. She lived at Giraffe Manor with her mother, who was called the Giraffe Lady. And they were the ones that started this with the Rothschild giraffes. They were protecting the species and helping them to breed and grow. And now they are having babies of their own. I have on my YouTube channel a baby giraffe running under the mother, and the baby giraffe almost looks white because it's from a distance. But had I not been there 4 days, I wouldn't have gotten that. I got that on the last day that I was there. It was so exciting to see this giraffe run, to see the species surviving. And I also fed them by hand at the Giraffe Center. It's a nonprofit in Kenya. So you don't have to have big bucks to kiss a giraffe. You can go to the Giraffe Center, nonprofit, a wonderful place. And I highly recommend that people not be thinking that they're going to be limited by costs, because you can go there and I'm going to give them some books, when it's safer to send a package of books to them.
Great. That's terrific. Before I move on to my next question, I want to introduce the first trivia question. We'll have 2 trivia questions tonight. Rozanne has graciously agreed to not only sign the books, but personalize the inscription for all you grandmothers and grandfathers and great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers and aunts and uncles, and to whoever you want the book to go to. For example, if you're sending it to little Joey, and Joey calls you Nana because you're his grandmother, she will say, to Joey, with all the love and care in the world, from Nana, the person who knows the woman who kissed the giraffe. So,
well, let me tell you the actual inscription.
Go ahead, tell us.
So it would be, to Joey, from Nana, who loves you so much and who knows the author who kissed a giraffe. And then below, I sign at the bottom, Rozanne, the author who kissed a giraffe, with a big heart.
Great.
So it's from Nana, who loves them, etc. But they could look at Nana with new eyes and think, Nana's cool. She knows the author. Well, she's just watched me. She knows me. She's on the screen, right? She's part of your audience.
That's
It's like
right.
knowing me.
Yep. So the first question, and we're not giving any layups tonight because the audience can use their cell phones to look up the answers. The big five, when you go on a safari tour or a wilderness tour: elephant, rhinoceros, leopard, Cape buffalo, and lion.
Yeah. Like the one behind your back.
Like the one behind my head. The question is, why are they called the Big Five?
Well, I think viewers are going to be surprised at this.
I think
those
they will
are the five that were considered hardest to hunt.
You just gave them the answer.
Oh no! Oh no! I trampled on this.
There's going to be a stampede to the keep.
Oh no! Well, the first ones to come in, Ralph. Now, Nate, let's do another.
No, I have another, but
I'm sorry.
We'll leave it at that. The first one in gets it, so hopefully they can type real quick. So, the book is unique, and I'm sure you can add to what makes it even more unique from your perspective.
Well, because I did it for the children of Jubilee Jumpstart, and it was written initially for them, the way Miss Dee Dee wanted it, with the pictures and so on, these are the things that make this book unique in the children's world. First of all, it has real, authentic pictures of animals close up. And by authentic, I mean my shots are not National Geographic. Everything was shot on an iPhone. Some photos of me were shot on my iPhone, if you see me, or on somebody else's that sent it to me. And there's a few of leopards that were shot with a telephoto lens, which makes them extraordinary photos. But for the most part, it's been done by me, authentic, taking pictures on my own. And that makes it very authentic to the reader. People like it. It's not the beautiful National Geographic, Discovery, etc. with these gorgeous pictures, although it does have good pictures, but it's not the best if you have 100 to choose from. The other thing, so this is real photos versus illustrations. The average children's book is illustrated. Secondly, it's a real story. It's a story of my wildlife trips. So it's a real story of a real person rather than basically fantastical, wonderful story. I mean, I love children's books. I read children's books to children, and I know what the genre is. This is not the genre. The third thing is it's got emojis. I have not seen another book with emojis. So, for example, I worked with my book consultant, my little book consultant, and I said, so caterpillar is a really big, big word. Is that hard for you? She goes, yes. I said, can you say caterpillar? And I said, what about if we do an emoji here and you could recognize caterpillar, because she wasn't, speaking the word caterpillar yet by herself. And she knew butterfly, of course. So she could see it. So it was caterpillar, and I had the butterfly in there. So caterpillar turns into butterfly. So the children kept wanting more emojis. So I did put more emojis than I had in the first place because of the children. The other thing that I did mention, it is, to my knowledge, the only children's book that was created on an iPhone. Somebody could correct me if there was another one, by someone with a disability. So this is inspiring, I think, for children and their parent readers and teacher readers. So a child can see themselves as a child, thinking that they could grow up with a disability and still overcome it and have an interesting life and do a book which was never anticipated by someone without a computer, who gave it up. So that is one. The other thing, it was very well tested with children up, from 2 to 9. And it was tested also with teachers at this school and other schools. This was pre-pandemic when you could actually reach people. I would ask children on buses if they liked this, what they liked about it. They gave me input. So it was very well tested. And there are reviews on Amazon and on my book page. It's a book web page that has a long, Rozanne.com, and then Rozanne Travels to Africa to Kiss a Giraffe, all spelled out with many lines. So it shows the reviews and everything else about the book. So there's views from former librarians and former teachers and current teachers, and, from translated from kids. And there's one who is by a friend of mine that I'm connected to on Facebook, and she has a grandson who she dotes on, and this pandemic has been hard because they have to socially distance on a walk and can't do hugs and so on. And this is the child that asked the question, what is it like to kiss a giraffe? And so I responded to her on Facebook, and I said, this is for Lucas. And this is Meryl Shugal, and she has a marketing research agency, and she has a wonderful relationship with her grandchildren. And, like many grandparents now who are probably in your audience, they have this relationship that has been changed by the pandemic. Either the children aren't staying with them as they used to, or they may be staying with them, but at a little bit of a distance, or they may be gathering together outside after they've all quarantined and feel they're all healthy, and have been tested. So this has strained relationships with grandparents and their grandchildren greatly. And, also, parents are being very careful because if they're in the front lines, they have to be careful of their own children, and often change clothes in the garage, so the nurses and the firemen and other frontline workers, policemen, etc., have to be very careful about their clothing, what's on them, wash themselves up before getting together with their families. Or they may be semi-quarantined in a basement room and not sleeping in the same room. Everybody's operating differently.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of stress going on with the families right now.
Let me add one other thing
Sure,
that
go ahead.
makes this book unique, which is something we'll talk about later. It's the only book, to my knowledge, that goes beyond the book and behind the scenes. During the pandemic, on my little tiny iPhone, because I had, in a Zoom age, I had no computer, I had no iPad Pro, which I have right now, just set up 2 weeks ago, is the first time I've been able to do Zoom classes on my iPad Pro. So I've been operating on this little tiny iPhone screens for Zoom classes and for webinars and everything else in a Zoom age. And I became very, very concerned about children today, because what I was encountering in my limited encounters was stories of children who were zoomed out, zoned out, scared, anxious, bored, everything, because they didn't have the life they had before. And then they went into the summer from hell for most kids, where there was some summer camps for a lot of kids. There weren't the activities they normally did. Some zoos, like the one in Washington, D.C., just opened, 2-3 weeks ago. And I've been to the Smithsonian National Zoo, and it's different than it was, but I still was able to see lions, like the one behind Ralph, and was able to see tigers and my favorite orangutans and the baby gorilla and baby Red, who's not a baby. Red's going to have his 4th birthday soon. And it was very exciting to hear from children when they saw this page, children that I tested this with, a child, a brother and sister in Maryland said they were so excited to see Red on the O-line on my page of this imaginary journey. I don't know if you've showed that already. If we've gotten to it already, I may have gotten ahead of myself. Great. So that is the pre-preparation page. They will see what tested really well with all children, all parents, all teachers, very limited, I will say, that I tested with. Every single one loved the orangutan slideshow, the close-up of these different orangutans, going across the screen from the time they will greet the child at the dock to the time at the end where we see the babies. So that's what they will see on the screen. We will see the babies last. They will see the mother and child that I spoke about. You've got a still shot of. The one who put her hand on me and sat next to me eating mangoes. So that's in the still shot on that page. And what they everyone fell in love with was Red on the O-line at the zoo. And this brother and sister in Maryland said that they were so excited to see Red on the O-line at the National Zoo because they never got to see Red on the O-line every time they went there. And they went there a lot. They love the zoo. Like many children in this area are delighted it's open again. And they said, this video is so exciting. And it is. It lasts for a while, and you see Red upside down making these little squeaky noises. And it's just the most wonderful video. And I want to take children at zoos, for fundraisers. I want to take children with me from their classrooms, whether they're real or virtual. I want to be able to come in with something different. And the reason I decided on this as a venture of Beyond the Book was to tap children's creativity and innovations and take them out of today's world, today's rather narrow pandemic world with the masks and the structured life and everything, and take them into this different world of orangutans and have a wildlife experience. And some of the experiences I had, I don't know if you showed the woman with the mask on yet.
I'll do it now.
Okay. This was a historic photo from the time that I went to Borneo. So we had to wash hands, just like today. In dealing with the baby orangutans, we had to wash hands really well. We didn't sing the happy birthday song, but we washed them really, really thoroughly for more than 20 seconds. And then we put on masks to see the baby orphaned orangutans. And this woman who is holding a baby orphaned orangutan, I don't think that will happen in the future. And this is what we're dealing with today in our changing world. I believe we're going to have zoonotic disease after zoonotic disease, rarer and rarer, because of what we've done with nature. There isn't enough habitat. It's being chopped down. There are wildfires, etc., to keep wild animals and also to keep farm animals separate from humans. So we have diseases like mad cow disease that transfers over to humans. A friend's father died from that, and I didn't know it could be passed before that happened. So now with what we know, with orangutans, I'm sure that they will not allow anyone to hold a baby orphaned orangutan again.
Okay.
And the primatologist I traveled with, who is an extraordinary woman, she's named Dr. Baruti Mary Galdikas. Again, I said it's like traveling with Jane Goodall when it came to chimpanzees. I learned so much from her, and that's what I'm going to share with children after they've read this first part of the book, viewed this pre-preparation, and are ready to go on a journey with me. I'm going to take them further behind the scenes with how I traveled with Siswe, telling them more about Siswe than is covered in the book, telling them more about each experience than is covered in the book. And if this is successful, I will develop the other 2 trips into further journeys.
Wow.
These virtual journeys for children with me on the other end. But I am concerned about the world we're leaving behind for children. And I really want them to have the experiences in the world that I had, because the world I started with was not as polluted as it is today. Although I will say, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, with the Cuyahoga River that caught on fire. It was so polluted. So there was pollution then. And I think one of the things we've seen in this pandemic is, without all the transportation, how beautiful the skies were, how much worse the water has gotten, how much worse the water is with all this increased plastic and paper and so on, because we're doing disposable everythings.
Yeah, understandably, we want the world to be what it once was, but everything evolves. I was checking with Susan to see if we have a winner on the first trivia question.
We do actually. Yes, we have a winner. We have Michelle Rogers first came on and said that they were toughest to hunt, but then Carolyn Berry came in with the crucial information with on foot, the hardest to hunt on foot. So Carolyn Berry is the winner. Carolyn, thank you, and Michelle, thank you both for answering the question correctly. But Carolyn, if you could send us a private message with your address and let us know what would like your inscription on the book to read, and that's the most important part, and let us know that and send a private message to us in the Zebra, and we will get that book out to you. Thank you.
So I'll ask the second question, and let's see if Michelle Rogers can get in with the right answer this time if she'd like. So the cheetah is the fastest animal on the planet. To win the next book, name 2 of the next 4 fastest. And Rozanne, if you know them, don't say anything.
I won't, because I don't.
Other than cheetah and any other 2 of the top 5 fastest animals in the world. So, go. Rozanne, you and I had a discussion about the primates and the orangutans, and I think one of the things that you told me is we always thought the humans were much better than the primates because we learned how to use tools. And then you had an interesting experience about the orangutans. Why don't you share that?
Well, what happened is Discovery, who was then my client, took me to the National Zoo as their guest for the opening of Think Tank. And you could tell that the orangutans, one orangutan in particular, came prepared for this. She knew what she was going to have to do. And the task was the orangutans whose hands are too big to go under this, I don't know how to describe it, to get to the other side to get the Fruit Loops. You could only do it with something else. You could not, an orangutan, a grown orangutan could not get their hand under this to get the Fruit Loops, which they really, really wanted. I could tell you, orangutans are like us, and they like the sweet stuff. I saw that firsthand. I will share that with kids on my journey. So I see this orangutan before they let them in with this branch with, leaves and everything, going like this to get the leaves off. So there was just the stick, and that stick was turned into a tool by this very smart orangutan. That's where I discovered how smart they are and how much like us they are. I mean, when I see eye to eye with an orangutan, I see another intelligent being, another sentient being, like with elephants, etc., smart. So I said, so we've been lied to. It's not just man that can do tools. And this was probably 20 years ago when Think Tank opened. I probably need somebody from the National Zoo to tell me. But it was a long time ago. And orangutans have been using computers there. Computers not like ours, but, with like things, like fruits and vegetables and clothing, attire, putting like things together. And they've been doing that very successfully. So there's, iPads for orangutans that are being saved. So that's a really great experience. But my seeing this orangutan quickly zip up those Fruit Loops and eating them and getting more and wanting more put down there, I mean, without question, this was a smart orangutan. She already knew the drill. She already knew that she needed a tool if she wanted those Fruit Loops. Some of the orangutans didn't know that yet, but very smart. And I had been going to the zoo. Every time I get depressed, I go and see the orangutans and have these experiences. So one orangutan is looking me eye to eye and mimicking me. So I open my purse and I pretend I'm putting on lipstick and I go, like that. And the orangutan pretends that she was putting on lipstick like this. And then I pretend that I'm combing my hair like this. And this little boy goes, Mommy, come here. The lady is talking to the monkey. Because, children don't really know orangutan. And when the children that I worked with said, oh, they were very proud when they knew any animal, and they knew the giraffe on the cover. But when I showed orangutans, they knew elephants. When I showed orangutans, they went, monkey. And I told the orangutan folks at Orangutan Foundation International that first, if they wanted kids to care about orangutans, they needed to know what they look like. So I told the children that my favorite animal are red-haired orangutans. They have red hair, and it shines in the sunshine, or it's glossy, or whatever.
So I have a question. When you traveled with the primatologist you traveled with, and I forget her name, and
Dr. Galdicus, but we could call her Dr. B.
Dr. B. And you think about Jane Goodall, a memorable primatologist from, Gorillas in the Mist and all that. Where did your emotions go in all of that?
It was a trip like no other, and it made me want to go see other wildlife. But for ages, I wanted to go see orangutans where they lived, and it is far away. They're only in two places in the whole world, other than in zoos, perhaps, in Borneo or Sumatra. And you travel and travel and travel, and then you travel some more and some more. But the advantage of my little journey is that they show their passport on the plane, and instantly we go from the plane to the boat to the landing because we play pretend. And we don't have these long, miserable journeys cooped up in airlines too close together. Right. We have these quick journeys of the mind, and kids are so imaginative. And I think what we saw during the pandemic is how imaginative some children were to help other people. And I think that we're going into a world where creativity, imagination, these different skills are going to be what we saw succeeding during the pandemic. You know, these young people that were making face shields on 3D printers. All the things we saw, people all of a sudden that changed operations totally to make masks because those were needed. But people that retrofitted everything, businesses that retrofitted, what we see is fast pivoting to the new reality. And I think we're going to be dealing with more and more of that. So I think education in the old line way is not as helpful as teaching kids to go into their imaginations, to go into their minds. What can they see? What, you know, it shouldn't be a skill that we tamp down. I love talking about to children about what they see. I talk to them. I said, I had an imaginary friend when I was little. Do you have an imaginary friend? And that opens the door for them to talk to me about their imaginary friend.
Good. Just checking. We have a winner on the second question yet?
We do have a winner, and Michelle Rogers came up with the winner.
She did.
She guessed the pronghorn and the wildebeest.
Correct. That is two of the other four, along with the springbok and the black buck. And those are the 5 fastest animals on the planet. Very good, Michelle.
Michelle, did you Google that?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And Michelle's got plenty of nieces and nephews to choose from, so she's going to have a rough time figuring that one out. Good luck, Michelle. She may have to buy a few more of your books. So, one thing, as we start to wrap up, we've got a few more minutes. Tell everybody about the donation you're going to make to the National Zoo.
Well, there's 2 zoos that have made a big impact on my life, and I've decided to donate my books to them. They could do what they want with them. They could sell them and make a profit. They could use them for any aspect of fundraising. So the National Zoo is one. I told you they were a major factor in my life. They're my zoo here in Washington. And the other zoo is the Cleveland Zoo. And both of them have orangutans. And I'm making this donation for International Orangutan Day, which is next week on August 19th.
Wow.
And also in honor of Red's birthday, which is September 12th. I mean, I just love this Red, you know, and when I couldn't see pictures of him all that time and there was no cam on Red, I felt my Red fix wasn't met. And the people from, what is it called, DC Zoo Walks or something like that on Facebook, who I follow, you know, there were no new pictures. So I didn't see Red for all this time since March. So I finally saw new pictures, and Red is so big now. I mean, I saw him at the zoo when I went, but he was kind of sitting, kind of looking little. But now I've seen him pictured on the O-line, hanging upside down, and there is Red, big Red now. So he's going to be 4 next month, and I thought, you know, in honor of that, I wanted to just do this to the zoo. They could do with it as they want, and, you know, my book has been reviewed by umpteen people, and is being used in classrooms and so on.
Yeah. Yes, and we will have a review by the Zebra Press as well, so you got that one. And do we have a zebra behind you?
Well,
I have a zebra behind me.
Well, Ralph, I actually have a zebra here.
There we go.
It is usually in my window, but here's my zebra. But the zebra is also very significant for my book.
So what's the significance of the zebra at the end of your book?
This was Miss Dee Dee's idea. There is a zebra that I got a live shot of, and the tail is going like this. So you've got the still shot. There's a zebra where I've got the rear end of the zebra, and the zebra is turning his head to look at me. And it was, Dee Dee said, and this is a perfect the end. So I thought, why change what's perfect? So it is the end and of the book. And
Great.
thus we've got zebras all over.
That's right. Well, Rozanne, this has been wonderful. I think that we've all learned a lot. We've heard you and how the world is evolving, especially as it relates to communicating and educating children. We heard what your passion's about, and I think that comes across in your book. And thank you very much for coming on. It was such a pleasure.
It was a pleasure to finally be on the show with you. We met a few years ago.
Right.
And
Yes, well, the show just started, and the next guest I book will be on in 2021. So,
really?
yes, we're filled out to the rest of the calendar year. And in 2 weeks, thank you, you're a perfect straight lady. 2 weeks, we have Sandra Perez Glasgow. She's an internationally recognized author. Her latest book is A Thorn for Rozelle. It's a very well written novel, and she'll be on in 2 weeks, so that'll be the next show. So yes, it's amazing how many people want to come on the show and tell their stories, and authors are all full of excitement. They want to tell you how their inspirations, how they got there, their background. It's just a wonderful experience for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do this. It's just been wonderful.
Well, I will tell my Facebook audiences and other audiences who do book clubs and who love books about your show, and give me the link for when this is on YouTube. You know, whenever you put the show on YouTube, because the people who have not caught this can then catch that version and watch your show when it's live. You know, they can like you on Facebook.
Great. Right.
So it's under Zebra Press and under Zebra TV and
ZTV. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Terrific. Well, listen, thank you so much, Ralph, Rozanne. It was wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for a wonderful interview. And congratulations to our winners, Carolyn Berry and Michelle Rogers. And remember to send us your address and your inscription information. And Rozanne will be sure to get that information to you as soon as we get it. So thank you again for coming on. And I'll say goodnight to you, Ralph. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Good night.
Okay. Thanks to you guys. Okay, well, that's going to do it for
over and out with my
a lovely edition of ZTV. The new August issue of The Zebra is out. It's on newsstands. It came out last week. There's a wonderful story about our hometown heroes. So please definitely check that out. Also, speaking of ZTV, go ahead and subscribe to ZTV, and you can see all the previous episodes of ZTV Live, as well as Lucello Flaherty's Out and About. Her videos get on there as well, so it's a little bit easier to find the videos on ZTV than Facebook, but you can obviously find them in both places. But go ahead and subscribe. It's good for us to have a larger number of subscribers, so please go ahead and do that. And as always, for ZTV Live, send us your ideas and your input for anything that you'd like to see in a future show. That's going to be it for tonight. Jane Collins is here tomorrow night with Dr. Gregory C. Hutchings, the Alexandria City Public Schools Superintendent, and we will see you then. Okay, until then, everybody, remember to be the good news in someone's life.